I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Delighted to be joined by Mr. Peter Fury. All right, mate?
What are you doing, mate? You all right?
It's a nice shirt you got on there.
The old check shirt, retro style.
Rupert the Bear style.
Yeah, I was about 12 when this came out.
How are you, Peter?
Not too bad, KUGAN. Everything's all right. Yeah. Just getting back into the swing of things now, and that's it, really. What you been doing?
I was at the Joyce fight last night, which we're going to talk about. I was at the football today, and I've just got home, and I'm talking to you, basically.
Yeah. Could be worse things on a Sunday.
It could be a lot worse of things in life. Absolutely. Let's jump straight into it, Peter. I mean, what did you think about, before we talk about kind of what happened last night with Joyce and Zhang, what did you think about the matchup, first of all, with Joe and Zhang? Because it was deemed a little bit of a dangerous fight, but I think most people thought that Joe would come through it. Like
yeah, me included. I thought he'd come through it as well.
So you didn't think it was too risky of a fight before last night?
No, it was a good fight, and I said on the social media, I said this is a fight I'm looking forward to see, because both big men are going to throw punches. So it was always going to be a good fight to watch. You know, I knew it would be an explosive fight between the two of them, because the styles make that kind of a fight. They're no-nonsense fighters, both of them. So I knew there was going to be punches thrown. So it's going to be always going to be an entertaining fight. You know, it's a good fight for heavyweight boxing, because, you know, fighters need to be in good matchups. We're not interested in seeing you're definitely going to win. We want to see what fighters are like when they're tested. You know, and Zhang was a good fella to put to test, isn't it? That's it. When you're fighting decent fellas, you know, that's what makes boxing. It's not one-way street. It can go anyway.
I mean, I think one of the shames of last night, obviously, because of Joe Joyce's eye situation, he wasn't able to go into the second half of the fight, which would have been interesting had he been able to continue. But the first few rounds of that fight, I suppose, am I right in saying that it was expected? We know that Joe Joyce kind of would, if the eye injury hadn't happened, kind of maybe have started to dominate as those rounds gone on. But Zhang was putting pressure on from round 2 in that fight and was pinging Joe with a lot of pressure.
That fight I was looking at was a lost cause. The eye was terrible. You know, would that fight got turned around? It didn't look like it was turning around. You know, right up into round 6, you know, he was there to be it, Joe Joyce. So it was going to, you know, the right man won. It was a good fight, but Joe Joyce got his tactics totally wrong. Even to his body weight, in my opinion, was totally wrong. Look, you're fighting a banger anyway. You can punch Zhang, yeah. The guy's 20 stone. He's trained like a lunatic for that fight. You can see he was in good shape. Why would you want to lose nearly 2 stone or something? Why would you want to slim down to fight a 20 stone man? So I don't understand that, and that was bad. That was wrong tactics. Well, you know what? We can all sit here in hindsight. The better man won on the night, but he did get his. There was a few things wrong there. You know, for me, he let Zhang take his jab away, which is the worst thing that you can do with a southpaw. It's absolutely a no-no for your jab to be took away, because when your jab's took away, what have you got left? You've got to step in and try and land your right hand and your left hook. Yeah? When you step into a southpaw in a straight line, that's suicide. And that's what he did. You cannot do that with a southpaw. What you got to do with a southpaw, You got to feint, you got to stand off them, you got to make them miss because they fall short with a straight left. Very hard for the southpaw to land it when he's moving forward. So Joe Joyce planted his face in straight view of his straight left, so he couldn't miss him. So it was he played the perfect fight to make Zhang look like a killer because that's the way he performed. He went in straight lines and he got clipped everywhere. And you know another thing I'm going to say, you know all this. Listen, he took proper stick, Joe Joyce. And if that was anybody else taking them right hands, they'd have been gone well before Joe Joyce went. Yeah, so he's as tough as teak. But you know all this tough guy nonsense, yeah, doesn't work in boxing. Is in these heavyweights, like you said, okay, his chin stood up, but his eye never stood up, did it? And there's a third man in the ring. Yeah, and he did get hurt early on as well. There is no such a thing as a cast iron chin in boxing. No such a thing. When a heavyweight hits you and hits you properly, you're doing a breakdance. It's simple.
That lead left hand from Zhang was almost working like a jab. I mean, it was so effective, and it was...
Yeah, because he was walking into it.
Yeah.
Of course it's effective, because look, a southpaw stands like this, he's at the back. So it's a lot more difficult to throw a straight left than what it is for a right-handed person to throw it, because the right-handed person doesn't need you to come into him to land it. He can get it off a lot better. Whereas southpaw, they struggle a bit because the southpaw leans on the back foot a lot more.
We saw kind of, I think, from round 3 that eye was obviously in trouble, and then obviously the fight was called off in the 6th round on the orders of the doctor. But I mean, look, Joe Joyce would have carried on regardless. I mean, it was for his health more so that he couldn't continue with that eye. It was getting worse and worse. And I think
the stoppage was absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point? Because look, Zhang was up. You know, his eye was swelled up. You know that he wasn't turning that fight around. It was too late. You know, he's got a vision which you can't see. So look, he got the tactics wrong in that fight. Can he come back and do a lot better? Of course he can. Has he been wiped out, not called out? No, he hasn't. He's been stopped due to injury. So he needs to get the rematch on and get working his jab. And you know, look, when all this was going on in the first start of the first round and all this was happening, yeah, Joe seemed to just abandon the jab and just say, well, it ain't working. This is where you got to be patient with southpaws. You know, he should have jabbed his forearm. He should have jabbed his shoulder. You know, jab anywhere, establish that jab. And then Zhang would have tried to get around the jab. He'd have ended up missing, and it would have been the same in reverse. He'd have ended up getting caught. And then it would have been a different ball game. He just got his footing wrong from round 1.
You mentioned Joe Joyce from a weight perspective, Peter, but how much of him coming in that kind of condition and also at that weight was a factor going into that? I know you've touched on it already in this interview, but how much of a factor was that?
I think it's a big factor because, you know, when you're fighting big men like that, 20 stone, you need weight. You know, you need that weight. You know, he's a big bull of a man, Joe Joyce. You know, and he should have been all of 19 stone 6, 19.8, in my opinion, for that fight. He should have been hovering around there, like he's done in previous fights. You know, not to come in super light. Why would you come in super light like that? Is that to move better? He didn't move at all. He just walked in. So the movement wasn't any better. He just, look, I think whatever the reasons are, I don't know what it was. But his tactics was wrong. His body weight was wrong, in my opinion. Yeah? And this is only my opinion. I could be wrong. But there you are. I'm only giving you my view. You know, he's a big man. You know, you're fighting a big man. Be a big man yourself.
Whether Joe Joyce exercises that rematch clause or not is yet to be seen. But did you see enough in that fight to make a case that Joe Joyce should jump straight back in with Zhang?
Well, definitely. You know, look, Joe Joyce had a lot of experience. He's been in the amateurs, through the amateurs. He's in his mid-30s, isn't he? How old is he?
Joe Joyce is 37, I believe.
Come on, what do you need? What do you need another? He doesn't need to grow another arsehole, does he? Why would you not get in there? You know, of course, he's got his tactics wrong. Joe Joyce is a fighting man. He needs to have that rematch and get it on. And look, if he comes up short next time, so what? You know, that's it. He's gone as far as he can go. He's met his match there, but I think he can do a lot better. And he'll sit and take stock of it. They've got a rematch clause. Take it. It won't do him no good by not having it, will it? Why would you not have the rematch?
Peter, we've got to also talk about the fact that obviously prior to this fight, a lot of people were kind of booking Joe Joyce as, you know, the one that should be mentioned in the same breath as people like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, etc., etc. What does last night tell us about where Joe Joyce is in respects to kind of those guys that have already done it? I'm not saying at the level, I'm just saying the guys that have already done it. People like Tyson, people like Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, these kind of guys. Where does Joe Joyce sit amongst them now, having seen what we saw last night against Zhang?
I don't think that can tell us anything because Joe Joyce fought the perfect fight for Zhang. You know, Zhang's a big, rough, he's a big, rough fella and he throws quick punches. He's a decent big heavyweight. He's not shit. Yeah, he's a good fighter himself and he's a big puncher. So basically, Joe Joyce stood in his way and let him get them shots off. Look, you can't fight every opponent the same way. You've got to adjust your tactics. This is world level boxing. You can't just walk into people because some people that's going to work and some people that's definitely a no-no because Zhang loves people coming onto him in straight lines. He'll stand there and he'll trade it with the best of them. Yeah, but I'm telling you now, Zhang can be quite easily outboxed. I'm not being disrespectful to the fella in any shape or form. He's a good fighter, but it's how you deal with fighters, especially in the heavyweights. He ain't got the quickest feet in the world. Yeah, and I've seen him have fights with decent journeyman Zhang and struggle because I've seen him personal close. I've seen him in Monaco when he boxed with Denko. I think he won by a split with a neck and neck. So it's just because it's a style of fight you're fighting. Do you know what I mean? So you can't go off that. Can't go off it. Joe Joyce just boxed the wrong type of fight. Yeah, you can get in fighters' phases, some of the fighters, but not as somebody who's 20 stone, and that's the type of fight he needs. With Zhang, what Zhang doesn't like is somebody with boxing ability who can slip a slide and mess him around and make him miss because he tires out quickly as well in the second half. But somebody like Zhang, you've got to make him miss. Can't stand there and let a big man tee off on you, can you?
Now we've seen kind of, obviously, Zhang, it's a bit of a weird one.
I just want to say this, yeah? Joe Joyce was trying to tee off on Zhang. So look, the best man won on the night. And it was Zhang, wasn't it?
We've seen, obviously, Zhang, a lot of people thought that he beat Filip Hrgović in Saudi Arabia. Now, obviously, he's had this win over Joe Joyce. I think he's approaching 40 years of age, Zhang. But he could potentially, I get what you're saying when you're saying he can be outboxed, but he potentially could be a problem for anyone in that division. True or not?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know how somebody's going to fare until they get wet. And Zhang is a good fighter. And he's been fighting regular. He's been in good fights. And what I like about Zhang, he'll fight anybody. He's up for the task. And let's give him the ultimate respect. This is a Chinese guy. He's in Vegas, wherever he trains. He's come over to England, and he's put it all on the line. And you got to give him his due. He's a proper fighting man. I respect Zhang. I think the man needs a hell of a lot of respect for what he achieved there last night. Not putting his win down by any shape or form. Joe Joyce is a big, strong unit. He's had a good training camp for it, and he comes second best. I'm only saying what Joe Joyce should have been doing. Whether that works for him next time or not, we'll see.
It'd be interesting to see the next moves of both fighters, whether they rematch or not. But it'll be interesting to see. I think we're all in agreement that you're pinning this down to Joe Joyce getting his tactics wrong, Peter. So it would be interesting to see off the back of that, and obviously the eye situation, which didn't help.
Look, I know Big Joe, and he's been down. He sparred with you 18 times. Went down to David A's gym in London We had a week sparring with him. Lovely big fella. And Joe Joyce has got one. He's got a great attribute, yeah, and that's that solid ramrodding jab he's got. Yeah. So where was that jab yesterday? The jab was taken away. So that's his arsenal gone. You know, that jab sets up everything. And Joe neglected that jab. You know, I dare say he'll know what he's done himself. But to me, looking at it, the jab was non-effective. You know, he started to pour with it early on. And, you know, there was no ramrodding jab there.
It'll be interesting to see, like I said, their next
And
move.
maybe Zhang's that good, he just took it away from him. So it's all of these we'll only know in the if they have a rematch, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to.
They need to get it on again anyway, because it was a good fight, and it's this is the kind of fight we want to see. Do I think any less of Joe Joyce? Do I think anything? No. Listen, people get too excited. Oh, he's lost. You know, you'll see all of the negativity come out. You know, forget being the flavour of the month. He'll be shit today. Everybody in the world will be saying Joe Joyce wants to pack it up. He's useless. Blah blah blah. Because this is the fickle sport we're in. But let me tell you something. He's a fighting man, Joe Joyce. He fights anybody where other people won't. Yeah. So it's easy for people look on the sidelines, isn't it? You know, they both fight anybody. They give entertainment because whatever it was last night was on the edge of the seat stuff anyway. I was watching it and I was up on the seat. I was ducking and diving with the punches, you know. And when I watch a lot of these fights, I'm talking to the missus. I can't even be fucking bothered.
You're right in what you're saying, though, because I think prior to this fight, you know, people have their opinions about Joe Joyce would beat Anthony Joshua. You know, Joe Joyce would give Tyson Fury a good fight, etc. And then obviously after his loss, it's like, oh, he weren't no good anyway. This is the fickle world that you're referring to.
Yeah, it's not that he's no good. It's because Zhang was a big, tough, good fighter.
Yeah.
And Joe Joyce took too many of them shots.
Yeah, like I said, we'll see how that pans out. But you watch the rest of the card, Peter?
Yeah, there was nothing on there that excited me. I can't even remember who was on it.
Michaela Mayer.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a short notice who she boxed. That was a very, you know, that girl done well to get to the end of the fight with 24 hours notice. She done well. So, but you know, it's a comeback fight. I don't know much about. I don't know the girl. I don't know. I know of Michaela May. What's it called? Michaela May.
Michaela Mayer.
Michaela May. Yeah, I seen her fight Boone Gardner there. She looks a good fighter. Who else?
I mean, it was a good win. I don't know if you saw Denzel Bentley. He had a good.
Yeah, I was impressed with that. That was a good win he had. He caught him with a couple of shots there, and he was out, wasn't he? So yeah, you can't say anything with that. Noakes, I seen his fight. That looked good.
Yeah.
That guy was unbeaten, but he looked like he shouldn't have even been in there. He just got bullied all around the ring. So again, it's listen, we don't know about these undercard fights. Let's see what they're like when they step up properly. But listen, they're all showing the right signs, aren't they? So far, so good.
Okay, could you give us some updates regarding Savannah Marshall and also Huey's next moves, Peter?
Yeah, Savannah Marshall, she's working on a deal which is due to be closed any time. We're waiting to hear from Mick Hennessy and Boxer Sky to announce it. So, and Yui as well. So Yui will be fighting as well. They're all going to be fighting in June. Sometime in June. That's what we're working towards now, KUGAN.
Okay. All right. I'm sure there's loads more you know that you're waiting for it to be announced before you can confirm anything. So
yeah, exactly. It is good news all round, but obviously it's not for me to say because we've got to wait for the correct procedures and to be announced properly.
Okay.
Oh fuck it, I'll do it now.
Peter, I've got before we obviously finish, I've got to address your Twitter. The last couple of weeks, you've been very vocal about loads of different things. I'm not going to ask you anything specific because a lot of it's unboxing related, shall we say? But yeah, everything all right?
Everything's all right with me, you know. I listen. I see all these toing and throwing, but to be honest with you, the vast amount of the public, you know, they've got to see sense, haven't they? I only speak from a sensible point of view, you know, and I'm giving my own point of view. I'm not trying to get an army together. I'm not trying to sway people to believe what I believe. I say what I believe, and I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. I'm going to say it anyway, because everybody else is a shithouse, and they won't speak because they're afraid, because he might lose the job or whatever, or he might do this and do that. But what can an ex-convict gypsy man lose? I got fuck all to lose. I'm 55. I could fucking walk out that door and drop dead with a heart attack in the morning. Yeah, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, KUGAN, regardless of upsetting a bunch of fucking perverts. I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah, I mean, look, me and you obviously speak off camera. We speak a lot on the phone, shall we say? And we have.
You know what, KUGAN? Yeah, I'll tell you this. Yeah, our school teachers inboxing me, right? Listen, I'm a very confidential man. When anybody says something to me, I don't go and blab it to nobody. It stays where it is. Yeah, and I've got school teachers saying to me, "Do you know what? I go to school," he said, "and the things they're asking me to do," he said, "turns me stomach." He said, "But I've got a mortgage. I've got kids to feed myself." Yeah. But he said, all the toilets has got to be rearranged and all of this carry on. You know, it's just a bizarre thing. And then where I've done the jail years ago, I've got like certain, say, ex-prison officers speaking to me as well and telling me what goes on with these people that have sex changes in there and what they're really doing. They're getting their ass fucked off and prostituting their ass up and down in the prison, you know. So, listen, we are where we are. So, do I believe in all of that? No. Do I like it? No. But you know what? Everybody to the thing. They're over 18. They want to do what they want. They want to get their ass shagged off, whatever they want to do. That's fine. Yeah. But let me tell you something. Yeah. You know, when you're messing with children, yeah, don't fuck with the kids, man, isn't it? Listen, how can you say, come on, how can you say to a child, all right, does a 4 or 5-year-old child have its right mind, or 7 or 10? What was you like when you was 10? Or I was like when I was 10. So, do you know your own mind? You're an adult, are you? Do you know whether you want to be a girl or a fucking boy, do you? You're a fucking boy, ain't you? You're a girl. You're one or the other.
Totally. Listen, Peter, one thing I
Why
would
then? So what you want? You got your mother and father saying to you, "Oh, I'll tell you what I'll do, yeah, I got sons, yeah. And I've got daughters, I've got 6. Right? When I was all small, yeah, I tell you what, Huey, why didn't you put a dress on today? What is that? I'll tell you what, I've got a daughter. Why don't you just wear a pair of trousers? I think you look better as a boy."
Peter, one thing I will say, that, like you have been talking about, when it comes to children, like I said, I've got a 2-year-old daughter myself, and yeah, listen, a lot of the things that you're saying regarding the exploitation of children, is bang on.
Of course it is. You know, look, and it is right. I was listening to, listen, Donald Trump's Donald Trump. Yeah, he's from America. You know, we're from England. But at the end of the day, I was listening to what he said, and I retweeted his thing on Instagram, and he said the Bibles are took out of all the schools. Yeah, but yet they're told how to, girl be a boy be a girl. You know, it's all when you're messing with children. Everybody's got a right to be what they want to be. I said this before. I'm not judging anybody. I'm not doing that. Yeah, we've all got our own opinions. You know, when you're messing with children, you're a sick motherfucker yourself. That's a fact. That's what I see. And you know, all this showing all this on the TVs, and the fucking parents, yeah, standing for that. They're not parents. They're a bunch of fucking hyenas, whoever they are. I wouldn't let my kids. I've got little kids myself. Yeah. I'd put, when I was 10 or 12, yeah, I'd turn the fucking telly over if something come on there, a bit funny. Never mind listening to all that shit. Be a parent, be a father, be a mother, whatever. And that's it. That's all I'm saying. But I think Well, what I think anything goes today. I think all the values has gone in the gutter.
Mm.
Seems
Yeah.
that way, doesn't it?
Peter,
Anything twisted and perverse seems to be the key.
Peter, like I said, like you just said there, I don't personally judge anyone. Everyone each to their own. But when it comes to children, like regardless of whether I've got a child or not, is irrelevant. When it comes to children, no, it's a completely different fucking matter.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Look, and we're not saying I'm not singling out anybody. If somebody's gay or whatever, that's up to them. I'm not interested. Half the world's like that anyway. What I'm saying is, let children decide what they want to be when they're old enough to make that decision properly. Don't start teaching infant kids what's what here. You know, child doesn't know what it wants. Looks for you, the parent, to advise it, doesn't it? If you said to your daughter, do this and do that, it will do, because that child loves you. So they trust the parents implicitly. So if the parents are saying to it, I think you should do this and you can do this, and if you're not sure about this, you're not sure about that, what kind of parenting is that?
No,
You're ruining the child. You're messing with the brain. You're messing with the child's innocent mind. And it's, it's not good. That's where I'm trying to get to anyway. So I'm not interested in all the idiots coming on social media and saying, oh, I'm a racist, I'm this, I'm anti this and anti that. Listen, I'm anti messing with children. That's the only reason I've mentioned it. Let children grow old enough to decide what they want to be.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
But then you're in trouble now, KUGAN, because you just agreed with me, yeah?
No, I agree with it. Listen, like I said to you, I don't judge, Peter, I don't judge anyone. Listen, each to their own to a certain degree, right? But when it comes to children, I'm sorry, but I agree with what you're saying. The exploitation of children in certain social media things, etc., is fucking wrong. And I don't care who disagrees with me about that. If you disagree with me about that, then they can fuck off, to be honest with you. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to children, it's different.
With little children, it is different. You know, you can't mess with kids. Listen, I help people all the time. You know, in the gym, young little girls come, you know, young kids, you know. You're trying to help kids you do well in their life, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be saying anything else, but I just don't get it, to be honest. That's my opinion on it anyway. But nobody seems to be speaking about it, especially all this legislation coming in. For what? If I had kids today and it was all small, I'd say, right, you're all fucking sacked from going to school, forget about it. Go and sit on that seat and read a book over there, because you ain't going.
Okay, well, listen, Peter Fury, listen, I appreciate your time as always. I do want to ask you if you've got anything else to add, but yeah, I don't know if you're going to get cancelled in the morning for saying so. So
I've got a question for you, Ian.
go on.
You ready for this one, yeah?
Yeah, go on.
You've got a little girl, haven't you?
Yes.
Right, yeah? Let's fast forward a few years and say she's 7, 8, 10.
Yep.
She goes into a lavatory.
Yep.
Right? And a big fuck off fella, 6'3", walks in behind her and goes, I want to go in that toilet because I'm gender neutral or whatever. What would you do?
Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion, like everyone. Like you're entitled.
Well, I'm entitled to mine, and I'd say, listen, you fucking big freak. Yeah, get out that toilet from my child, because you see that is going down your fucking neck. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm entitled to my opinion, like everyone else is having their opinion. And that situation you just told me about there, hypothetically, absolutely not. No. And if anyone's got a problem with that, then, like I said, they can fuck off. That's my personal opinion about that, what you just said to me.
Well, exactly. You know, that's my opinion. So everybody can fuck off if they don't agree with me. So what? It's my opinion. I ain't going up and down with a blackboard in my hand. You know, that's me. But I think, look, if people don't start speaking up about little children, what's going to happen in the future? Where's it all going?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing. Anyway, I've had my thoughts on it, as you know.
As we know. All right, Peter, listen, we'll look forward to news of Savannah Marshall and hearing, which looks like it's pending very soon. But yeah, do you have anything else you'd like to add, just on a more positive note?
Well, what other fights are coming on? What other fights are scheduled?
Well, we've got Tank and Garcia next week.
I'm looking forward to seeing that fight. That'll be good.
And we've got Joe Cordina, who's fighting for the world title for the second time after he was stripped from the IBF in Cardiff
Joe-
next week.
Yeah, Joe Cordina's a top fighter, so I'm looking. That'll be a good fight as well.
Yeah, Sandy Ryan also fighting for a vacant world title on that card as well. So
Yeah, so it's good then. So Clifton's got a busy night then, hasn't he?
absolutely. Okay, Peter, thank you very much for your time. No doubt we'll catch up soon. And yeah, hope you're well.
And you, KUGAN. Good to speak to you.
Thank you very much.
Refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 17, 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,